G'day everyone, welcome to another CSBP Fertilisers Market Update. I'm Grey Johnston and joined as ever by our Sales Strategy and Reliability Manager, Ben Sudlow. Hello Ben.
G'day Grey, how are you today?
Very well, thank you. There's a lot happening in our local market at the moment. Products coming in, products going out. If we go to the global market, I think the topic most people will be interested in is nitrogen, and it seems that nitrogen markets globally are pretty well supported in terms of demand at the moment.
Quite right, Grey. Last time we spoke about the Indians taking about 800,000 tonnes out of a need of about 1.5, and then the near-term demand was picked up by Australia and other markets. So that sort of held the producers through with volume. There's also a reasonable expectation that given that India didn't take the 1.5 million, only got 800, they're going to have to come back again. And if they come back again as expected during the first half of May, that carries the producers' volume through till May. So the market's definitely been supported. It hasn't gone. It's probably gone up slightly since we last met a couple of weeks ago, but it certainly hasn't drifted down. It's held pretty firm to where it's been.
Yeah, and that so in terms of real dollars, like a US dollar urea price has lingered around that kind of $400 a tonne price for the sort of export price that's relevant to us.
Exactly, Grey. Yeah, which is sort of the numbers we were talking about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. As it relates to other markets that might be relevant to us, we've seen quite a bit of activity in the US and how sort of that global tightness has translated into some pricing activity in the US domestic market, which isn't a market we talk about much.
No, it's probably more looking at it through the lens of what can happen in a domestic market, where what's happening in the global market gets exacerbated in a local market, where we've seen UAN prices had risen considerably in the last 2 months out of the US. And then what's happened in the last 2 weeks is local domestic urea prices. Everyone's suddenly going, oh, we now need it. Where is it? And the product's not there. So the price of the urea in the US has gone up about $85 US a tonne in the last 2 weeks, unrelated at this stage to what's happening in the global market. So all the farmers are going, we need it now, and they're just paying more and more to get hold of tonnes. Whether that be the lesson that, you know what, if you want near-term product and apply supply it in a domestic market, you're going to see a pretty rapid run-up in price, which is exactly what's happened there.
And you mentioned UAN there. You've been talking for the last couple of shows that, hey, we've seen that global price of UAN creeping upwards, and of course that's relevant to the extent that we're importing in this WA market. I guess it's now getting towards the end of the time period where a supplier in West Australia would be able to access a UAN cargo to be here in time for season. We're almost talking pre-fill now.
Quite right, Grey. The difference we talked about the urea market not relating to the global market. Mm-hmm. With UAN, where they are an exporter, they're more their domestic market that has got some relevance to the export market. Because right now, if we had to pay what a US farmer's paying, UAN would be somewhat similar, not much less than what our urea price would be right now. So there's a big premium on nitrogen in the US. And as far as supply goes, yeah, look, we're talking about now shipments that we'd be getting in the back end of July and August, and by the time that comes, we're really talking about stuff that's the very tail end of the UAN season, and starting to think that we might be looking about late August and September when we're talking about product into pre-fill.
Okay, so some clear messages there on what's going on globally on UAN and on urea. In terms of how that might translate into the West Australian market, how should we see that playing out?
We've got to get ships here in time for demand that we're predicting, and we've spoken last month about the demand coming a little bit earlier. So when you're buying for prompt shipments for near term, you just pay to get it here, and I think that's something. Make sure you're securing supply and you're paying what's needed. We don't want to see like it's done in the US, that it's prices run up like they have on the domestic market, but we've just got to get the stuff here, and that's the key focus for us now.
And you've put another urea ship early into the program in response to some of that rainfall we've been seeing?
Yeah, we have. For that very reason, it's now, look, if you see a gap, there's demand coming, well, you just got to try and get what you can get and organise a ship to try and come and fill what we expect to be pretty strong demand through the south of the state, and probably earlier than we would have previously thought.
And in terms of Flexi-N, we said it's getting towards the end of our ability to procure more import product. We've still got product available to sell into the domestic market.
We have, Grey. We're lucky we can produce, but that's got its limitations as well. There's only so much that you can predict a increase in demand. If there's a big increase in demand, there's only so much capacity as a supply that we can meet that need. And look, we're much closer to the end point in terms of supply availability than what we are in urea, which is much more readily available.
Okay, a nice wrap up there then, Ben, on what's happening globally on urea and Flexi-N, and then how that might translate to the local factors in this market. Any other topics we should cover today?
That's probably enough for today. It's a quite short and sweet one, Grey.
Very good. Thank you, Ben. And just remember out there, you can jump on our website, csbpfertilisers.com/prices, and have a look at our latest fertiliser pricing for a key range of products for small volumes of collection on the day of collection, and get in touch with the local account manager for different collection timings and a more sophisticated bundle of products. Until next time, thank you again, Ben, for joining us.
Cheers, Grey.
And thank you all out there in Fertiliser World. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
This podcast is provided as general information only. The content of this podcast is not a recommendation and has been prepared without taking your objectives or circumstances into account. Before acting on the content of this, you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances and seek independent advice.